12 men on the field. Defense. The point is good. 5-yard penalty on the kickoff.
So we'll take a break. 7:15 left in the game. It's now 34-21 to pull the Raiders within 13 of the Buffalo Bills, and 7:15 remaining. And there you saw the quick strike capability that you've been mentioning is Lofton with a big gainer to set up the touchdown.
I know, and you know, the Bills haven't turned the ball over yet today. You'd kind of think that they're due for a fumble, a mistake, or an interception. And if that happens, hey, these Raiders are right back in it.
So the Raiders trying to make it into the playoffs by winning their division, still hanging in there. They're down by 13 now, but we've seen how quickly they can strike, and so it's up to Buffalo now to try to control the ball a little bit and keep it away from that quick strike Raider offense.
And that touchdown's got to fire up the Raider defense too. They should be putting some pressure on that line of scrimmage and forcing Kelly to continue to throw the ball. You want to cause a turnover somehow, a fumble or an interception, and once again with the big play capabilities of these special Raider people, the wide receivers, the running backs, and the strong arm of Schroeder, Coach Shanahan can have these guys right back in the game here.
41-6, the Oilers over the Bengals. And that Chicago score, Kevin Butler kicked a field goal 32 yards with 4 seconds left to win it for the Bears, who continue to struggle a bit with all their injuries.
Have to call that a moral victory for the Detroit Lions, huh?
I bet it was heartbreaking, though, to lose one with 4 seconds left after playing one of the best teams in the league to a virtual standstill.
Tampa Bay, New England goes into overtime.
Here's the onside kick attempt expected by the Bills, and they don't get it. Instead, Flip Johnson takes it at the 15-yard line. Using his blockers, he dives forward to about the 37-yard line. Buffalo had called a timeout there, and I don't really know why. Do you, Joe?
I have no idea why. There was a timeout already with the kickoff and the commercial and all. I can't figure out why Buffalo called a timeout if, in fact, they did.
They did. They have 2 left. And Mike Shanahan and his Raiders with a full complement of 3. The score, though, in favor of the Bills, 34-21 and 7:09 left. The Raiders need to get the ball back in a hurry. Mueller tripped up, stopped at about the 38 by Lyndon King. Thurman Thomas still has not come back after limping off in the 3rd quarter and gaining 103 yards on the day.
2 touchdowns by the Raiders would give them a 35-34 edge. I know that's asking a lot, could be far-fetched, but we've seen the big plays both by Brown and Lofton. You know the Raiders are capable of exploding any time, and this Bill offense has been flawless. They haven't dropped the ball or put it on the ground here with the interception of fumbles, and I know the Raiders would like to create one.
Mueller. Kelly fell down as he made the handoff to Jamie Mueller.
Yeah, but that doesn't count. I mean, he's allowed to fall down once he gets rid of the ball.
It wasn't very pretty, Joe. Mueller wasn't able to gain much either. They stacked him up. They met him right at the line of scrimmage, and he's just across the 40, bringing up a 3rd down and about 6.
Interesting situation right now. Should the Bills go ahead and put the ball up, or should they keep it on the ground? I'm one of those conservative quarterbacks, and I'm afraid I'd have to keep it on the ground here to keep milking that clock.
Well, they don't want a turnover because turnovers have been the story of the game. 3 of them by the Raiders. The Bills have turned them into points. Direct snap to Ronnie Harmon. Harmon still on his feet. Taken down inside the 30-yard line of the Raiders by Mike Haynes. They snap the ball directly to Ronnie Harmon, and he sets sail upfield.
Interesting play, good play for the Bills. Kent Hull, the center, is asked to snap the ball a little bit to his left that time, and he makes an accurate snap, and then Harmon does the rest with a huge hole. What a stiff arm that time he put on Van McElroy.
31-yard gain for Ronnie Harmon, the former #1 draft choice out of Iowa. In his 3rd season with the Bills, gives Buffalo a 1st down at the Raider 27-yard line. Now back to work with Mueller. Stacy Turan comes up to pop Mueller and send him down. Short game.
Well, I really would be surprised to see the Bills put the ball in the air now. They're on the 25-yard line. They're working that clock nicely. A field goal would put this game out of reach. It would force the Raiders to have to score 3 times, and I don't think the Raiders will have enough time left on the clock to do that if the Bills continue to keep it on the ground for the next 2 plays.
Norwood staying ready. 2nd and 7 for Buffalo. Cincinnati is losing. The Bills are winning. The home field advantage could be theirs throughout all the playoffs. They were ready for Jamie Mueller that time. Scott Davis arrives simultaneously with the football.
Hey, that was a big play, too. That right there could have taken him out of field goal range. He had a loss that time. That's the one thing the Bills did not want to do, is take a loss. And with the loss, it could be tough for Norwood to get it that far. A good play coming in there by defensive end Scott Davis. Well, they really like this Davis. Talking with Al Davis yesterday, the managing general partner of the Raiders, and he's talking about this rookie Davis just playing the best ball he's had of any rookie play in quite some time. They're really high on him.
Had a good game today. Sets up a 3rd and 12 for Buffalo. Handed off to Riddick. Blockers in front. Riddick to the 15 and inside to the 14-yard line. Eddie Anderson tied him up, but Riddick with a big run moves the sticks again as Buffalo picks up a 1st down. 15 yards.
Good offensive blocking there. Number 71 Del Hellestray and number 51 Richard get out there to lead the opening, and it's just pretty good running by Riddick. I'm afraid right now the Raiders are going to have to hope that Denver comes out on top at Seattle and they can handle Seattle next week. That appears to be the Raiders' only hope right now. They have to hope that they get help from someone else. The Raiders had the chance to do it themselves with 2 wins, but now they've got to rely on some other people.
From the 13-yard line, a Buffalo 1st down as we approach the 2-minute warning. Mueller, maybe a yard. Matt Millen right to tie up his feet.
Let me see now, Tom. If the Seahawks beat Denver, the Seahawks will go to 8-7, and the Raiders are going to 7-8 if they lose today. Now, if the Raiders beat the Seahawks next week at home, will that give the Raiders the division title?
Glad you asked that, Joe.
We're looking at these standings.
I think so, because the Raiders have lost only once in their division. And they would have split with the Seahawks because Seattle won the earlier game at Seattle. I hope that's right. Meanwhile, we'll give you some other scores. Try to change the subject here. 41-6, the Oilers. We already gave you that Chicago final. Green Bay upsetting Minnesota. That's a real surprise of the day. As we change, we'll see a final that's in from overtime at Foxborough, with New England still in the playoff picture as a wild card, just lasting over Tampa Bay with a field goal in overtime to win it 10-7. 34-21 here at Rich Stadium. The Raiders have called a timeout, stopping the clock at 2:04. So one more play before the 2-minute warning. We've got names from all the hit squad, the defense, Kelly's Heroes, the offense, and the Steve Tasker-led special teams, the Tasker Force.
Tasker Force.
Tasker had been injured for a couple of games and very valuable. In fact, was Special Teams Player of the Year last year. Riddick gets the handoff, moves strongly up the middle. Scott Davis with another tackle for the Raiders, but he's close to the 5-yard line as we come to the 2-minute warning with Buffalo in control. Eamon's back on track apparently after losing 2 in a row. They will go to 12-3, and with Cincinnati on the way to a loss to Houston, will have the home field advantage for the entire playoffs if they can win at Indianapolis next week. Kelly hands it to Robb Riddick. Riddick is inside the 5, and the Raiders immediately call their second timeout to stop the clock. 1:54 left. And we'll take a break as well. We'll be back to Rich Stadium in just a moment. To be going down to defeat today, but are still alive for the playoffs. But they'll be rooting for the Seahawks tonight as Seattle hosts Denver. Then the Raiders would have to beat Seattle next week. Because of that 6-1 divisional record, they would go to the playoffs. Scott Norwood to try a Buffalo field goal. It's about 22 yards. And it's good. Scott Norwood with his third field goal of the day. Norwood, only the 10th player in NFL history to kick 32 field goals in a single season. The Buffalo lead now 37-21. Final regular season home game for the Buffalo Bills, and they will finish unbeaten at home this season. Even Santa getting into the action as shout echoes over Rich Stadium. And gives us the time to honor our Budweiser most valuable player for the game. We said at the start of the game that the Buffalo offensive line had to redeem itself after a poor showing at Tampa Bay last week. They have done just that, as Buffalo has rushed for 253 yards today to 108 for the Raiders. And so our Budweiser most valuable players of the game, the offensive line of the Buffalo Bills. Budweiser will make a contribution to the United Way on behalf of all the MVPs selected in today's game.
Yesterday I asked offensive coordinator Jim Ringo of the Buffalo Bills how he thought Dale Hellestray would perform. He said, hey, I don't know. The kid hasn't played much for me. He said, we're going to find out. Well, Hellestray, playing for the injured Tim Vogler, has done a good job, obviously. I mean, when you rush the ball for 250-plus yards, that offensive line is doing some kind of work.
Norwood with a kick. Tim Brown at the 7. Stopped at the 25-yard line. Dwight Drain got a piece of him. He was just camped there waiting for Brown to cut back. Managed to stop him. There's Drain, number 45.
Sure, he had outside containment. There's Hellestray. He's got to feel pretty good about his effort today. Again, he hadn't been playing a great deal in the offensive scheme. He's been snapping for the extra points and the punts, but he's not been in that offensive line getting to work with the center, Kent Hall, or with his tackle to work out the cohesiveness it takes for a successful offensive line. And obviously, he did a whale of a job today.
3 years out of SMU, Hellestray, a 4th-round draft choice, is on injured reserve with a hip injury all 1987. Schroeder across the middle, completes a short pass taken by Steve Smith, immediately tripped up by Leonard Smith of the Bills. No huddle offense now for the Los Angeles Raiders. Again across the middle. Lance Mueller made the catch and managed to hold on to it as he was bowled over by Leonard Smith. Shanahan signaling in. He hadn't given up. Just a minute 10 left. Schroeder picks up the Raider first down.
You know, with the score 37-21 as a quarterback, you're wondering, what am I doing out here now? I mean, we're trying to get what? We're going to get some more points, another touchdown. They've got another game left against the Seattle Seahawks. The Raiders just called timeout to stop the clock with 57 seconds. I can't figure this out. Right now, they're just taking the risk of losing 1 or 2 of their ball players. They're going to put Schroeder back there in the pocket with Bruce Smith and Cornelius Bennett coming after him. I think the Raiders ought to just run the clock out now.
Let's check the report card for the Raiders today. Schroeder was 11 for 21. A couple of touchdown passes and over 200 yards. Did a pretty decent job.
I thought he did. Now, those statistics aren't telling the whole story. Schroeder had some dropped balls. The fumble that he had with Bruce Smith was a good play by Smith. On the draw play where Schroeder dropped the ball, that was an awful play by Schroeder. But overall, I think Schroeder's done a pretty good job today. He's not getting any help from his teammates, or not a great deal. Sure, Lofton made a big play, and so did Tim Brown, but they had no consistent offense at all today.
What about Jim Kelly? Kelly, how do you assess his performance?
Oh, Kelly had a good day. He didn't put the ball in the wrong place. He was going to the right receivers. But I tell you what, there are a lot of quarterbacks around the league that could have operated this offense today. I mean, that line just did a terrific job of blocking for Kelly. Sure, he was accurate with some of his passing, but he got a lot of help from the rest of his pals today.
And the rookie Thomas with a 100-yard rushing game in less than 3/4 of action.
That's the kind of football that Coach Levy likes to see, that ground game and defense.
Schroeder, Smith wrapped him up, and he managed to get away, and he completed it to Steve Smith. Smith was then hit by Cornelius Bennett.
I mean, who are they fooling? What are the Raiders doing right now? Go ahead and run the clock out. They're just taking chances on losing some people that they might need next week against Seattle.
Telecast presented by authority of the National Football League, intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of the telecast without the express written consent of the Buffalo Bills and the National Football League is prohibited. Cornelius Bennett prohibiting Schroeder from getting the pass away, and Schroeder limps as he comes up.
Sure, he's limping. He's barely making it back to the huddle right now. Bennett threw him down, and Schroeder bumped up something there. It doesn't look to be serious because he is in back of the huddle right now. But he's limping, and you folks in Los Angeles, I mean, you've got to be wondering, too. I know the Raiders are trying to get some more points, but why? I mean, they're out of the game. It's over.
Well, our thanks to Kerry Howler and Larry Pollock, our statsmen here, and spotters Michael Gluck and Steve Solomon. The executive producer of NBC Sports, Michael Weissman. The coordinating producer is Ted Nathanson. Well, the Buffalo Bills finish the regular season unbeaten at home, and they go to 12-3 on the season, and they bounce back from 2 straight defeats with an impressive performance today against the Los Angeles Raiders. In the cold of Rich Stadium, the Bills beat the Raiders 37-21. We'll have some final comments in a moment.
And when he did complete passes, some of them were poor ones. He completed them to the Giants. Terry Kennard, double zone, intercepts Lomax. He goes 41 yards.
We all strive to win, and we all don't like to lose. And unfortunately, every week, 14 of us win and 14 of us lose. So it affects us. And I think all of our personalities are different. That's probably what makes the owners' club, if you want to call it that, in the NFL so unique.
More from Eddie DeBartolo on SportsCenter after football. NFL Primetime coming up next. I'm Larry Burnett.
Week 15, and the Oilers let their hair down as Boomer and the Bengals find out about the House of Pain. A different sort of pain in Chicago. Plenty of cold and a battle to the end. The end of the Vikings Central Division hopes is the story in Green Bay, while Tampa Bay gives New England all it can handle in Foxborough. Who's the fastest gun in the West? The Saints and Niners trying to decide at Candlestick, while down the coast the Rams try to hang tough. Hey, get out of the snow. NFL Primetime is coming up next. Once again, everybody, and welcome to ESPN's NFL Primetime. I'm Chris Berman, and just to drop a few names, Pete Axthelm is with us, Tom Jackson is with us, John Saunders will be with us as well. Of course, we would like to update you first on the late games, only 3 of them being played today, and in the final moments out at Candlestick Park in San Francisco, the San Francisco 49ers. It's a money game. Are you surprised they're on top? San Francisco leads New Orleans 30-17 as they play the last few minutes out at Candlestick. The Niners would lead the NFC West if they win it. The Rams stay in the hunt for the NFC West. They have defeated Atlanta down the coast in Anaheim 22-7. That is a final. And one other game still going on. It's a final now. San Diego has defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers by a count of 20-14. So some sort of revenge, I guess, for Mark Malone. Our game tonight up in the Kingdome in Seattle between the Denver Broncos and Seattle Seahawks. The team that wins it will be in first place in the AFC West. Is it a booby prize? Not really. Mike Patrick and Joe Theismann have joined us. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Chris. We're standing by for our first place battle in the AFC West here at the Kingdome. One of the keys in this game should be Seattle's rush offense with Kurt Warner and John L. Williams against Denver's rushing defense, which is next to last in the entire league.
You're right, and the load is carried by Kurt Warner and John L. Williams. Warner has 878 yards rushing. John L. has 709 yards rushing. There's no question who's going to run the football. It's not going to be David Craig. And on defense, the Denver Broncos are really glad to have back Carl Mecklenburg. He plays all 7 defensive positions up front, and I wouldn't be surprised at sometime if you see him line up at cornerback if they need the help. They've really struggled statistically. There you see against the run. In 86, they were ranked 5th. In 87, 20th. They started to slip there. Now 153 yards a game allowed. 27th, they're ranked in the league. Carl Mecklenburg is the key on defense for the Broncos, just as John Elway is on offense. And it's interesting, when you talk to some of the players on the team, they say, now it's time for someone else to help pick up John Elway instead of John constantly carrying this football team.
Well, we showed you the stats on Denver's run defense. I like statistics. Sometimes they're misleading, but the next statistic you're going to see isn't misleading at all. Denver is on 4 separate streaks that all come together tonight. None of these streaks are any good.
Yeah, when you have an O in the beginning of all of them, it doesn't bode well for you, believe me.
They are 0 for 3, their last 3 at night. They've lost their last 4 on the road, the last 5 in domes, the last 11 on artificial turf. Well, we are at night. Denver's on the road, it's in a dome, and it's on artificial turf. It doesn't look good, and Elway is going to have a great night tonight.
Yeah, but you got to figure percentages sooner or later have to go in your favor. They got to figure one of these O streaks has got to end for us because it just can't go on forever. And tonight is a night that's going to be very interesting. We talked to Dan Reeves, and you'll see Denver throw the football a lot tonight. First down, second down, third down, and probably use the shotgun because he feels like he can run his offense much more effectively from the shotgun, so John Elway doesn't have to be concerned with the 12th man, which is the fans here, who really, as the players on Seattle say, these are very intelligent fans. They know when to get loud. They know when to get quiet. When Seattle's offense is on the field, they get quiet. When Denver's offense is on the field, they get loud. So consequently, Denver says, we'll counter with that and just put John Elway back in the shotgun so we don't have to worry about communication so much.
But Dave Craig won't have a problem at all. He can run his normal offense.
He shouldn't have a problem because Dave Craig has control of this system. I think Dave Craig right now is playing better football than he's ever played in his career. He's playing with confidence. He's the man that has to play well. He is as important to that Seattle offense as John Elway is to the Denver offense.
Well, usually a battle between teams that are 7-7 is not very important. This one is, especially with the Raiders' loss this afternoon. So, Chris, it's a big one. We're standing by for it.
All right, Mike and Joe, it looks like it could be a shootout, and we are impressed with both of your ties tonight. However, we noticed that neither one of you are wearing a T-shirt like this. Now, remember when the Boz's book came out? One of the things he said about John Elway was that he reminds him of Mr. Ed. Well, they are selling these T-shirts. They're going like hotcakes in the Seattle area, and the proceeds will go to the Forgotten Children's Fund, a charity which helps destitute families at Christmas time with presents, with some food, with some money, and also a gift, a trip from Santa Claus. So a very good cause, although John Elway may not like his face here on these shirts of the Kingdom. He doesn't have much choice about it. So that is the scene tonight as we get set for Denver and Seattle. When we return, we will come back with the big game in the AFC Central between the Houston Oilers hosting the Bengals. We'll be right back.
NFL Primetime is sponsored by the Acura Legend and Integra. Precision crafted performance exclusively at your Acura dealer.
When you race Formula One cars at speeds exceeding 200 miles an hour, you're bound to gain a great deal of valuable information about engine technology. You might expect us to keep information like that under lock and key. But we prefer to keep it someplace a little more accessible. The Acura Integra Sports Sedan. From now on, this is what dry is. Dry is a beer that starts bold from the first taste, finishes clean with no aftertaste, and refreshes completely. Dry is a beer called Michelob Dry. One taste, and you'll drink it dry.
The new Remington Microscreen Ultimate with the exclusive beard lifter stretches the skin and lifts whiskers other shavers leave behind. The new Remington Microscreen Ultimate shaves as close as a blade and closer than any other electric shaver or your money back.
Sarah, keep an eye on your brother.
No matter what size your business, no matter what size the job, Konica copiers are ready. Konica, capturing the imagination.
You know, thrifty car rental is thrifty price for everyone.
Well, Henry, this is a good deal. Sign it.
It's an offer you can't refuse.
Sign it.
Why don't you get a larger car to entertain friends?
Now I'll sign it.
Enjoy the luxury of a Chrysler New Yorker, just $34.95 a day at Thrifty. 72-hour advance reservation required.
Go ahead, make my reservation. It's simple. Call 1-800-for-cars.
NFL Prime Time is being brought to you by Mazda Cars and Trucks, including the all-new Mazda MPV. By new Michelob Dry. One taste and you'll drink it dry. And brought to you by Thrifty Car Rental. For worldwide reservations, call 1-800-4CAR.
And we'd like to welcome all of you that have just watched the San Francisco 49ers defeat the New Orleans Saints 30-17. These are the 49ers in December. Last 5.5 years, the 49ers 11-0 in weeks 15 and 16. On to the AFC Central, though, where the Cincinnati Bengals had a chance to wrap up the division today if they could go into the House of Pain and defeat the Oilers. Well, the Oilers did lose last Sunday night on ESPN, but the Bengals figured, okay, they did lose at home. We'd like to wrap it up on the road in Jerry's house, as in Jerry Glanville's house. But it was the House of Pain once again, as Cincinnati and Houston were ready to face off in the AFC Central. If the Oilers win it, they could keep their divisional hopes alive, pulling one back. Boomer Esiason had trouble getting started. They read the play action. Sean Jones with the sack. When Boomer did have some time, his receivers didn't help him. Jim Briggs can't find the handle. And the unsung tight end Rodney Holman can't find the handle. And of all people, Mr. Dependable James Brooks can't find the handle. On the ground, the man with 15 touchdowns, Icky Woods, wasn't doing the Icky shuffle, as Esiason and the Bengals could get only 44 yards total offense in the first half. But when they had the ball, Tommy, Houston figured out the Bengals scheme.
Here you see a slot formation with Ernie Givens going inside, Drew Hill going outside on the zone. The Bengals defense gets a little confused. They get the completion.
And on the ground, Mike Rozier ran, my goodness, like he was fired from a gun.
Well, great blocking. The kick-out block by Highsmith opens up the hole. The rest of it is done by Rozier.
Yeah, he bowls over Solomon Wilcots there on his way to the end zone for a 7-0 lead. Second quarter, 1st and 10 of the 15. Rozier will pull his way right into the end zone. Three Bengals can't hold him out of the goal line. 15-yard run, 14-0 Houston. You want to see concentration. A year after he was drafted #1, Haywood Jeffries finally pays some dividends. Want to watch him look at the ball and makes the catch, a 42-yard pickup. And just 3 plays later, Warren Moon, after being inspired that his receivers will make catches like that, hits Curtis Duncan as he beats Lewis Billups. Oilers 24, Bengals 3. Jerry says, yeah, that's the halftime score. Second half, Sam wants to reorganize the Bengals. So, on 1st and 10, we look for Chris Collinsworth, but Johnny Means nails him. Patrick Allen recovers, and the veteran Chris Collinsworth said, Mama said there would be days like this. On the very next play, watch Curtis Duncan come up with this catch for Warren Moon. Boy, the Oilers were hitting on all cylinders. A couple of catches, one of them the touchdown by Curtis Duncan on the day. Take my word for it. 2 plays later in the 4th quarter, Rozier, we're not going to get around right end. I'm going to go all the way back the other way. Now, Mike, don't do this. Don't put the ball out, but you did have a great day. Your first 1,000-yard season is blew none, or something like that in the stands. The Oilers lead at 34-6. Rozier, 3rd time over 100 yards this year. Oilers don't let up. Warren Moon goes to Drew Hill for the 3rd time in 4 years. He's over 1,000 yards in receiving yards. And 41-6, the Oilers lead. Warren Moon was outstanding. Doug Smith's little son said, we're number one. Maybe if they get some help next week, but they certainly were number one today as the Oilers beat Cincinnati 41-6. And after the game, Boomer Esiason said he didn't have to be Einstein to figure out what happened.
It's just a good old-fashioned butt kicking when it really comes down to it. I mean, we had some chances right out of the chute in the first period, and we didn't capitalize on them. And you got to hand it to them. I mean, they just came out ready to play. They controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football, and they made the big plays when they had to.
It's a change from night and day from last week. I wish that we could have played the type of defense that we did today last week, but I thought that it was important for us to do it today, and, last week is history, but I thought we came back really good today, and it's important for us to just stay at this high that we're at.
So they win it 41-6, and in Cincinnati earlier this year was 28-0 Bengals at the end of the first quarter. Tommy, Houston really did a job on the line, didn't they?
Well, I harped all year on the efficiency of the Cincinnati play-action pass scheme, the way they can mix in the run and the pass. Today, the defensive line of the Oilers ignored the run, went right after Esiason and put a lot of pressure on him all day.
But let's give this one to the crowd. I think the House of Pain never had a better day. The Oilers were shot out of a cannon by the support they got from this crowd. It reminded me of the old glory days in the closed end of the Orange Bowl. Probably reminded Coach Glenville of the old glory days at an Elvis concert.
Or something like that, which I'm sure he has tickets to. The Oilers in the House of Pain this year, 7-1. A little different when they go on the road. They'll have to win at Cleveland next week and hope the Bengals lose if they're going to win the division. But following today, you'd have to think they at least have a good chance.
There's one company that can put together a lease on any make or model car or truck, new or used. That's Dalco Leasing and Sales. You get national fleet rates on the new or used car or truck you need. Lower down, lower monthly payments from a company who serves you, not the manufacturer. Get the car you want for less because we put our national fleet buying power to work for you. Dalco Leasing and Sales, 1 block north of Canyon on Hall Boulevard in Beaverton.
Able to take home the distinctive power of Grand Am for under $11,000, did you? Well, think Link. During John Link Pontiac's Amazing Grand Am event, you can choose from 25 new Grand Ams, half of them priced under $11,000. Think Link for Amazing Grand Ams under 11 grand. Come see why the Grand Am is John Link's best-selling Pontiac. Think John Link Pontiac for new Grand Ams, where I-205 meets McLaughlin in Oregon City.
John Elway leads Denver in this clash for the division title. The Seahawks will try to bust the Broncos. Mike Patrick and Joe Theismann bring you the head-to-head action of NFL Sunday Night Football, live on ESPN.
When the Chicago Bears lost Monday night to the Rams, looked like the door would be open for the Minnesota Vikings. Now all they did was trail the Bears in the NFC Central by a game, and they had that home game against the Bears in Week 16. All they had to do was set it up for that scenario. Could they do it, John Saunders?
Well, as you say, Chris, the Bears came in today 11-3. The Vikings at 10-4. They were playing teams with combined wins of a total of 6. So it looked like this week was merely a warm-up for that big Monday night matchup that they would have next week. However, didn't hold out that way. Sold out but shivering Soldier Field crowd. Conditions very difficult. Hard to hang on to the ball. Ask Neil Anderson, who fumbles it, and Chris Spielman recovers. Minutes later, Detroit with the ball. Snapped right over the head of quarterback Rusty Hilger, and Al Harris gets it back for the Bears. So now the Bears go in the right direction. Third quarter, Harbaugh sets up and fires to Dennis McKinnon, who would have a good day. Stumbles it down to the 10, puts the Bears in scoring position. So Harbaugh calls his own number on the quarterback draw and takes it in unmolested, 10-6 for the Bears. Harbaugh was getting the job done. Not outstanding numbers, but you notice he wasn't picked off. End of the third quarter, 2nd and 2. Hilger hands off to Tony Page, who loses it in the crowd. Maurice Douglas falls on it, and the Bears have the ball back. But Detroit gets it going. Hilger back to pass, sends this one to Jeff Chadwick, who has it in a crowd. And Detroit's in scoring position. 2nd and goal. Mike Singletary is back there saying, Gary James, you're not getting into the end zone this time. Wayne Fonts looks on as his team is stopped, and is Singletary fired up or whatever? Is he just trying to keep warm at Soldier Field? Lions call timeout, and then finally, James does get it in. 12-10 Detroit. Fonts is clapping. Singletary says maybe next time. But the story of the game was field goals. Eddie Murray gets this one blocked by Al Harris, but the Lions still lead at 12-10. So the pressure would fall to this man, Kevin Butler. But first, the Bears had to get it within his range. 3rd down and 4. Harbaugh again looks to the man who's been steady all day. McKinnon, 22 yards. McKinnon with a great day, 4 receptions, 61 yards, and that one would put them into field goal position. Butler, 8 seconds left on the clock, 35 yards on the attempt, bangs it through, and gives Chicago the 13-12 lead and the victory. And Butler is dancing on the day, and Wayne Fonts can only look on as the Chicago Bears drop his Lions to 4-11, 2-2 under Mr. Fonts. But the Chicago Bears are now 12-3 as they pull off the 1-point victory. So the Vikings needed a win over 2-10 Green Bay to keep pace. Gary Burns is bundled up today, and the Packers are driving in the first quarter. Randy Wright hits Aubrey Matthews. Carl Lee falls down, and Matthews gets it down to the 2 after the hit by Reggie Rutland. That sets up this play. Keith Woodside gets a good block from Hallstrom. And the Packers get the touchdown. The Vikings hadn't given one up in 17 quarters, but that ends. Vikings are driving in the second quarter. Wade Wilson to Steve Jordan. 1st and goal at the 5-yard line. That is not a fumble. But the Vikings were stopped at the 1. Burns elected to go for the field goal on 4th down. You guessed it. Chuck Nelson shanks it 18 yards, and Burns can't believe it. Comes away with nothing. The Vikings are driving in the 3rd. Wilson to Darren Nelson, who juggles the ball, never really gets the handle, and gives it right to Markley. And he returns this one 27 yards before he's finally brought down by AC. Don Mikowski started the second half because Randy Wright had a pulled groin. He gets off to a good start, steps into the pocket, and finds Perry Kemp 29 yards on this pickup.